Welcome to the Pan-African Hub. This is the Pan-African Lifestyle Show, the ultimate space where we explore community, culture, capital, and move towards one powerful vision, which is the African dream. I'm your host, Harrison Paul, and today it is with great honor that we host an esteemed journalist, documentarian, and filmmaker, Thilda Macjob. I'm going to get his middle name, which is his main name, but he'll help me pronounce that as soon as the episode starts. From his Emmy-nominated work with the BBC World Service to his latest Nollywood film on the Maroon rebellion, which Pal was honored enough to be at the premiere. If you guys caught that, it was a wonderful evening. Thilda continues to illuminate African stories with depth and authenticity. Let's dive into his inspiring conversation, and I'm so sure you pals are going to enjoy this episode. Thank you so much for watching, and make sure you like, share, and subscribe.
Living a dream, living the African dream.
Thilda Macjob, please help me with that, sir.
Gbolahan.
Gbolahan.
Oh yeah, not bad. Because the G and B is one alphabet together. They're not separate. It's GB and it's pronounced as B.
Gbolahan. I think it's so important that we...
Brilliant.
And you said it's Yoruba?
It's Yoruba, yes.
I think it's so important that as Africans, we all understand each other's languages and understand each other's cultures a lot better. I think we had one of the guests on, it might have been DJ Bokali, who said in every African country there should be, we should be learning different dialects within, different African countries. The same way in Europe, you learn Spanish, you learn French. Even if you're in England, you should be learning Yoruba and learning, Swahili, even if you're South African.
Swahili.
Exactly. So
1000%.
It'll make us more familiar with each other.
Do you know the meaning of Gbolahan?
Please let me know.
So the full name is Gbolahan, which means this child has displayed our wealth. So the backstory is when my mom was pregnant of me, my father was doing really well business-wise as a young man since we're working. So it's almost like this baby is bringing us some good luck. And then apparently when I was delivered, my mom said it was all legs, long arms, long legs, heart racing, me screaming my lungs off, head full of hair, like very vibrant. And my father was like, yeah, this is my G. And then it was like, this child is brought us wealth, something of that nature.
Wow.
So it's a name that I'm quite proud of.
Yeah. Because and I'm so happy because I want to try and get a name throughout this, going to try and get it right throughout the show. We're going to get into that later, but I just really love the wisdom behind, African decisions. I think we're such a cultured people, and hearing the culture behind your name, we're just 2 minutes into the interview already is inspiring in itself. Sir, you are an Emmy-nominated journalist with BBC World Service, with the BBC World Service, and a documentarian also, and a filmmaker. Your latest work includes Nollywood film about the Maroon rebellion, and you're just an all-round amazing storyteller.
Thank you.
I want to know where this journey began for you.
That's a great question. So I've always been an entertainer. There's 6 of us, a family of 6, and we grew up in front of the telly. We watch a lot of TV, and there was a lot of things that you wanted to mimic. I was always drawn into performance and showbiz, news, current affairs, anything to do with the tube. I was always involved in that. And so when we watch things, when we watch a movie or we watch a comedy or cartoon, I'm the one that's recreating it for the entertainment of my sibling. And I remember there's a British sitcom called Some Mothers Do Have Them, by Michael Crawford. Frank Spencer was the character. I don't think there's anybody who makes Frank Spencer's impression like I do. And my siblings used to sit back and watch me do Frank Spencer impressions and just laugh their head off. So I've always been inclined to things like that. Right. And as I got older and decided what I was going to pursue in life, I knew I was going to go to the arts. and it was going to be journalism or theater, filmmaking. It's going to be along that line. So I did journalism, where I then developed a passion for storytelling, just writing a story and putting it out there for the rest of the world to listen or read or hear. And that's where that started. And all my time in school, I loved what I was studying. I loved coming to school and putting things together. When they give you an assignment and say, go away and come up with a commercial for dog food, you know, I would just be beaming with enthusiasm about, ooh, are we going to do a puppy? Are we going to do, are we going to do a German Shepherd? No, let's do a little Chihuahua. Ideas would just be flowing up my head. And I'm always wide awake, lost in thought, just thinking, just lost in thought with creative ideas in situations maybe where I'm in a classroom, I'm supposed to be focused on whatever is happening. I'm just lost in thought as to what I'm trying to do. Or what if somebody came into this classroom and shot the teacher in the leg and we all had to run out the window and snipers come off the helicopter? That was me as a kid. My mind was always wandering off. So that's where it started.
And I can't but ask the next question, which is, you know, you sound like, did you school in Nigeria or did you school in the UK?
Nigeria, full-time. Primary, secondary, tertiary. I came to the UK full-grown adult I think I came in when I was 32.
So they facilitated your creativity in school within Nigeria?
Yes. So I went to private school, because my parents were upper middle class. Yes, so we had private education. But I'll say all that happened as a result of the kind of content I was exposed to. So we watched lots of TV, and there was Sesame Street, Contact, Enid Blyton, Famous Five, Secret Seven. There was a lot of content, and my parents bought a lot of books for us. So we read widely. And so even though I lived in a small town in Ogun State, Southwest Nigeria, called Abeokuta, my mind was in the UK, was in the US, was in France. I read comics like Asterix, and I knew things about the Gauls, resistance to the Romans. Even as a 9-year-old, I knew about people like Vercingetorix, a rebel leader for France, things like that. That you would think is not within my purview. So I had a very wide knowledge as a young person, right there in Nigeria. And again, English is our official language anyway. So we started speaking English super early. And I think that's where that came from. But my imagination had been wild since I was young, because I watched a lot of content. And I was around a lot of interesting people that came to see my family. And we went to zoo, we went to places like the zoo, the beach, a monkey sanctuary, a crocodile farm, things like that our parents would take us to, that just allowed me to be broad-minded.
And so now I'm hearing that, which is another thing that's very a big conversation within African culture. It is your parents didn't forfeit your creative mind to just drive you down, a conventional, what they call that, institution mindset.
Doctor, lawyer.
Yeah, doctor or lawyer, which is something you are very blessed to have, because a lot of Africans, I think, felt that pressure of becoming something as a black person, that they felt, listen, you have no choice but to make sure you become something that is, I guess, more secure and set in stone. Tell me a little bit about how you even got, you had that backing from your parents.
I mean, it's a great point you've mentioned. My father passed in 2020. God bless his soul. I have to say, I was blessed with amazing parents. But my father schooled in the UK as well.
Right.
So he was slightly different in his ideology.
Okay.
Because when I was a teenager, I didn't even want to do anything. I wanted to play professional basketball. So yes, I wanted to be like Michael Jordan, because the gentleman who was our coach was the same man who discovered Hakeem Olajuwon.
Okay.
And that's all he ever spoke about. how he brought Akeem Olajuwon out of the football into basketball, and now Akeem is a legend in Houston Rockets, and that's all we cared about. And it was the era of Michael Jordan. So I've been shaving my head since I was like 11, trying to, well, since I was like 16, trying to be like Jordan, and then I lost all my hair eventually. So basketball was my life. But you won't believe this. My dad was ready to let me pursue basketball.
Wow.
Yeah, so we found out that I could become a professional basketball player if I went to college in the US.
Right.
And he paid for an application form. I did a test to get to North Carolina or Duke. So I got admitted into Duke University, and the fees were supposed to be 25,000 US dollars. That's where the journey finished.
Okay.
Because there's no way it was able to raise that kind of money in a couple of months. So I had to go to local school. But he bought me trainers, bought me shorts, gave me money. So I just kept playing basketball. And eventually it was time to go to school at some point. So I then decided, right, okay, then I'm going to go do journalism. And both he and my mom were just supportive of whatever it was that I wanted to do, which is great, because when my turn came around, because you know what goes around comes around.
Right.
My son, who is like 24 now, he was quite studious in high school, quite brainy. Okay. And he had like multiple A's. And the teachers were saying to me that he had the capacity to study medicine, to be a doctor. And I'm like, yep, that's doctor. You know, my son's going to be a doctor. So I was like pushing him. And he went, he was in college studying medicine. And I'm already like, excited. I'm going to be the future dad of a doctor. Until my son said to me, I hate this course.
Wow.
I hate it. It stresses the hell out of me. I cannot find any respite. I have to study all the time.
Wow.
I do not want to do it anymore.
Wow.
Just seeing the pain. I said, son, you don't have to do it. Wow. You go do whatever you want to do.
Wow.
And then he decided he wanted to do journalism. How the hell that happened, I have no idea. Talk about the universe playing tricks on you.
But you know what they say? I think it's so important to, even for my son, when I have kids, I want to pass on music and the things that I do, because like legacy, legacy, they'll always be a step ahead because you teach them the things that you learned. And legacy is a big thing. I don't know if you're a Christian, but King David passed the kingdom down to his son Solomon. So I think you'll be passing the legacy down to him, which is going to be a positive thing. And then the next question comes in, which is another major thing, which is African storytelling. When did this revolutionary, direction, or I want to say your intention behind making your creative direction, when did the inspiration to be, should I say, sorry, I'm chewing my words here, to be revolutionary, where did that come from?
So I think storytelling has always been very important in terms of your identity. As you're sat here, the reports that we say about you, or the reports that you put out there about yourself, is what's going to define how we look at you, how we treat you. So right now I'm looking at you. You're coming across to me distinguished. So I want to take you seriously because that's the story that you're telling me. As against turning up for this interview, maybe slightly different. Which is what I'm trying to say. So it's always about the storytelling. And I feel like for the continent of Africa, we cannot afford to be footnotes. Because when the global north, when the big countries step forward, they're telling their own stories. Land of the dream, home of the brave, all that. All that. Also suggesting all this big conversation. Great Britain. Okay? So when it's time to tell our stories, first of all, we have to be proactive in that storytelling. And we have to be the one telling it. We can't afford to leave it to people telling stories about Great Britain, land of the dream. Oh yeah, and that place over there where there's a lot of corruption and a lot of destructions and Corona and Ebola. And then on to the next thing. We can't afford to let that happen. So for me, it became really clear very early, as soon as I got into this concept of journalism, where I had a radio program in a community radio, and I decided this was way before Burna Boy or Wizkid or Davido. This was way before they even showed up to the stage. I just kept playing Afro beats, of old artists like Paul Play, Dairo, old flavor tracks. Do you know what I mean? Just playing Afro beats, Plantation Boys, Two Face, and then talking about things happening within the Africa space.
Right.
Ghana's independence anniversary, Akwaba, Ghana, just trying to put it out there. So, to answer your question, it's important that we tell the story and then we tell it completely. So even if you're going to tell the parts of it that's not great, it needs to come from our mouth. We can't afford to let somebody else come and tell us about our continent. We have to say it so that in case they try to miss something, we have to call attention to it to say, by the way, have you heard about this place? Have you heard about Dirty December? Or have you heard about this and have you heard about that? Have you heard about Lagos or Eko? Have you been to Eko Atlantic? Have you that conversation has to come out there. Have you heard about Afrobeats? Have you heard about a gentleman called Burna Boy? Have you heard about Nollywood? Have you heard about legends in this industry? Have you watched this documentary? These are the things that I feel like we should be doing because, and again, it's all about setting the agenda. What you put out there is what people will discuss. So it's our responsibility to proactively put those contents out there. And that's what's really fueling my storytelling in terms of the stories that I make, even the podcast that I made. I made a podcast about the growth of Nollywood as a multi-million-dollar industry. I wanted to put that story out there that the creative sector in Africa is booming. It's creating jobs and local language content is attracting Netflix, Amazon, Disney into the continent of Africa, into Nigeria, and even the Middle East are looking to invest in cinema. I want to be the one to tell that story. I really need that story out there because when it's all said and done, if you leave it to the global north, Donald Trump would dominate the news. Elon Musk would dominate the news. We know of the conflict that's happening in Israel and Palestine. That would make news as well. There's a problem going on in Russia and Ukraine. That would make the news. Before you know it, the bulletin is all finished. So where's the African story? Who's going to tell that one? So I've decided while I'm in this space, that's my mission. Find the African stories and tell it.
Yeah. And you sound to me like a man who is outside of your your work. At heart, you are, if I can use the term pro-black, you are a revolutionary. You seem to be someone who has that fight for black people, that whether you were doing filmmaking, whether you were doing, I don't know, in a hairdressing, you would find a way to take that with you. Would you? Where would those? I'm always interested to see, especially men of your generation, because I find like men of your generation, like our parents' generation. I could be your son. I think that like we spoke about the storytelling in the media and what the North, or whatever you'd say, the West indoctrinated us to believe really began with our parents. So a lot of our parents pledged allegiance to the Queen. A lot of my grandfather did, my mother did. A lot of us, we really believe that the Western world,
even our faith.
Yes,
even
exactly.
Our faith, to demonize African spirituality, because you alluded earlier that you're a Christian. That it just goes to show you the battle is real, and they're closer to home more than you think. So 1 minute we talk about the allegiance of the Queen, but if you look inward as well, there are parts of the scripture that feeds into this whole problem.
Right.
Yeah. So, but that's a conversation for another day. So you have a situation where African spirituality has been demonized. So you hear somebody say, "Oh, I'm voodoo or Ifa devotees, like blood of Jesus," right? But that's the spirituality of our ancestors, and you don't get to call it evil or demonize it. So historically, there's a lot that we need to unpack, but so that we don't miss the context of the question you've asked me, like where did this come from? I was like you, where we just grew up into taking what our parents have passed on to us.
Right.
But then I started to travel a lot as I got close to my 40. You might say midlife crisis. I just realized I've never been anywhere. So I started to travel. Eastern Europe, Greece, Athens, Ephesus, Corinth, Galatia. I started going to these places, Rome. And the further I went, the more I realized, like, I've been lied to, in some way, shape, or form. Because I saw people preserve their heritage. I went to Lithuania. It's one of the last pagan parts of Europe that embraced Christianity. I saw their pagan ways going side by side with their Christianity. So they built a church that used to be a shrine to some goddess, but they left the relics there out of respect. They haven't demonized it, but it looked like anything you see in any shrine in Ijebu, So I began to ask myself, like, there's some respect for heritage here. Why is all of mine completely demonized and rubbished? So I started to feel like I have a lot to do in terms of documentary making, and that became my thing, where I like to make documentaries. I made a story sometime last year, maybe 2 years ago, a community in Nigeria where 1 in every 6-7 person is a twin, like the twin capital of the world. You think that you're seeing double. Amazing community, and to be able to go there, meet the locals, interview twins, and then go to the local shrine where they say it's because we are deity of twins. That's why we have twins. That's what they believe in. But I had the opportunity of going there, of filming the priestesses, what they were, doing sacrifices to the twin. I just felt like, for me being an African, it's my job to tell this story. I don't want somebody from the US to come there and start almost, what's the word I'm looking for? Almost misrepresenting it, so to speak, where the nuance is missing. Because if you miss the nuance, there's a tendency to water it down.
Yeah.
But for me, since I'm part of that community, I was able to respect what I'm seeing and had the words to describe my experience. So I'm not sure whether I answered your question.
You did answer that question. So I can see that it was actually middle age where it kind of a moment sparked for you after traveling, that you kind of said to yourself, listen, the revolutionary side of you began to spark. And that's what we find. And that's when we find ourselves then at your documentary, which is the film about the Maroon Rebellion, which is obviously huge about resistance and freedom. What was this like, bringing this story to life, and what inspired you then?
When my children were young, I took them, because, because I grew up going to museums and things like that. It was a large part of me. So I took my children to Liverpool Slave Museum. It just felt like the thing that you would do. I've taken them to War Museum. Nice. I've taken them to a regular museum. I've taken them to the Science Museum. It's time to go to the Slave Museum.
Right.
So we go there, and I see this photograph of slaves without any clothes on. And they had Merry Christmas written on their chest.
Wow.
And the slave was sat on the chair, and, the slaves surrounded them. And it was a postcard that was going to be sent to England. And it gripped me. I remember just stopping there and just watching it, looking into the eyes of the guy. I'm thinking, oh, wow, incredible. Because, when you travel abroad, you want to have moments that you share with the people at home.
Right.
So I was thinking to myself, like, these guys, so they've been away, their friends and family are in the UK, but while they're in Badagry, they've done this, and they're going to send it back to the fellas in Brighton or Ipswich or wherever their families live. So that caught my attention, of course. So since then, it's been in my mind. And, when you watch all this film, I saw Roots, then I saw 12 Years a Slave, then I saw Django Unchained. I've always been, when I see these stories, Last King of Scotland, Wakanda, I've always been thinking to myself, these are amazing stories.
Yeah.
But the global north is still telling it.
Yeah.
Then you're going to hire Forrest Whitaker, brilliant actor, to act African roles.
Right.
No problem. I'm just thinking to myself, and we have Nollywood,
Right.
a huge film industry.
Yeah.
We need to start telling these big stories. And from the journalistic standpoint, we have incredible cult characters in Africa. You know, we had Mobutu Sese Seko. We had Abacha in Nigeria. You had the Diami, whose story had been told. You had the Rumble in the Jungle, where Ali Fraser fought each other in DR Congo. But you had people in DR Congo who were there. It wasn't just Ali and Fraser that came there. I mean, Ali and Foreman. People live in that community. Their story will be interesting. So I'm thinking to myself, imagine a story about a man who walked Muhammad Ali's corner, a Congolese man who was recruited to be Muhammad Ali's cutman or Muhammad Ali's waterman during the Rumble in the Jungle. What a brilliant way to tell that story from the DR Congo standpoint, you know? So these were thoughts that were coming to my head about the need to start taking the storytelling seriously. So as soon as I came to the frame of mind that I will do this someday. Of course, slave rebellion, slave story has always been in my mind. But all those ones I listed to you, I felt like I didn't like the fact that they were slightly pathetic, apart from Django. I didn't like the idea that they took people, they beat them up, treated them shabbily, and that was that. So when I found out that there were rebellion, and not just Haiti, that things happened in Jamaica, across the Caribbean, African slaves of Ghanaian origin, of Igbo origin, of Yoruba origin, with African spirituality at display, where they found their way from that, the resilience of how they cooked their food without letting the master smell it. You know, these are the origin of things like jerk chicken and all of that. And I'm thinking, these stories have to come out. These stories have to come out. You know, we can't have to go read to hear this.
Right.
You know, we can see everything else on our screen, on YouTube.
Right.
This one, we have to go to the library and encyclopedia to know about the community of African slaves that actually fought back. I just love the idea that people were like, enough.
Yeah.
And had to go. And the fact that Britain came to a truce with slaves. I'm like, no way. You have got to be kidding me. This is the kind of stories that we need out there.
Yeah.
That's what led to that. I was just tunnel vision, like I will tell this story if it kills me.
Wow. And, you know, hearing you and hearing your just the way your revolutionary mind, I love that kind of fight within the mind. It has me thinking, you know, working with a big, you know, company, obviously this has shaped how you storytell, and it is there may be challenge that you face within being a part of such a big institution. Can you fill us in about firstly how it has shaped, you know, your approach, and then maybe some of the challenges you may face in that process?
When you talk about industry best practice, it's second to none.
Okay.
Because I know where I was, skill-wise, editorial knowledge-wise, to where I am now. You know, so it gives you that breeding ground because there's a lot of quality around you. So you have no choice, it will rub on you. So that helped me in terms of how do you tell a story? How do you write a story? What's we call something top line? What's the top line? Why are we here?
Yeah.
This is the story. Okay, good. What's the context? We need something to make us understand the bigger picture here. This is the context. Great. Now, how do we end this? We need a strong end. So those training helped me with the storytelling, but also because it's such a huge organization with so much moving parts.
Yeah.
When I go to work and I switch my computer on and I look at my email, when colleagues of mine, you know, correspondents from Ghana,
right,
DR Congo, Gambia, when they send their prospects in to look at the story they're telling, I feel like I'm watching a catalog of movies. Incredible, intriguing content, but it's real life.
Right.
It's real life. So when they write those prospects out and I read them, my imagination just start going mad. So that's helped me a great deal. for my storytelling and my ideas. I have like a bank of ideas of the things that I wanted to make. However, it remains a news organization that takes those things really, really seriously. So where the challenge comes in now is the conflict of interest, where as a journalist, the core calling is to report the facts, which is what I'm trying to say. You are not expected to opinionate or editorialize. Just say what's happened and do not be a part of the story. Because it's not about you. So when you are now super passionate as I am, it becomes a challenge. You know, but that's not really hard because when you're a professional, you can just do what needs to be done. You do your job and you keep it moving. There are things you're not supposed to say, whether it's your own opinion or not. When you work for an organization like that, there are things that's not supposed to be coming out of your mouth. So you really have to know how to conduct yourself. So that's super easy. Let me tell you the biggest challenge for me when it comes to the stories that we tell. Right? Because at the end of the day, is the audience. The biggest challenge, the stories. Right? The stories. So, if something happens in the US, because of the number, we need to report it. So that'll make the bulletin. Okay? But when it's time to report on African stories, you feel like you have to work extra hard because you cannot get the guests. So when it's time to speak for Africa, you cannot get these politicians. You cannot get them. You cannot get the guys that work for them, that are supposed to be looking after them and protecting them. Well, not protecting them, you know, working for them. So when you say there's news about Ghana's economy, or there's news about Zimbabwe, we need to speak to the minister. You can't find the minister. You can't find him. You can't get, so, which becomes a problem because this is an opportunity to say good things, but they're busy. However, if there's a corruption issue, we don't need you. We'll report the news without you. So when you have a chance to be a part of your narrative, you have to take it up. That's not the time to be looking for you. I find that incredibly frustrating. As an African, as somebody who wants to tell solution journalism, and it's still within my purview without breaking any laws within the organization, because at the end of the day, we agree that we need to tell positive stories about Africa because there's a lot of negative stories in Africa. However, there's pockets, there's hidden gems. When it's time to tell that story, we need you. Whoever you are, the minister, the CEO, the bank MD, you cannot find them. You cannot find them. This financial institution has just donated this amount of money. They just built this amazing structure in Abuja. You cannot find them. Why? Where are you? Let's have this conversation. Because if something happens in the next couple of years, if there's accusations of embezzlement or allegations of anything, you will be in the news. However we report it, that's your problem. That's the only frustration that I feel. The way the organization is set up, there's really no problem whatsoever, you know, because the same rules apply to all the stories that you want to tell. Once there's an audience and there's a guest and there's the editorial justification for why you're telling the story, it's good to go. I can say that hand on heart as an insider. Sometimes from the outside, there's a lot of conspiracy theories about what's going on in these big organizations. There isn't a lot. You know, most of it is in our mind. For me, every story that I want to tell that is pro-African, pro-Nigeria, positive, I've simply ticked the box of editorial requirements. Does it meet editorial? Why is this story important to somebody from Zimbabwe or Kenya? Once I'm able to answer that, who are we speaking to? Are we doing advertisement or PR, which we don't do? Once I meet all that threshold, I'm good to go. And I've told 1,001 positive African stories. about Nigeria, in spite of whatever else is out there. Every story that I've told have been positive, but I've been able to justify it. And even when it's time to tell the one that's not so flattering, like the documentary that I made, I had to make that because, you know, it's in the public domain. There's a problem. It needed to be addressed. But it wasn't somebody from the global north who came there and started pointing at our people like a bunch of savages. I'm one of them. And I've gone through that experience, and I was able to say, this happened to me. I went through this. Why is this still happening? You know, I feel like it has the empathy, and I feel like that's the way to go. So that's been my experience thus far. I am more frustrated with the fact that the stakeholders within the continent do not do enough for the narrative that we're trying to put out there. There's only so much the journalists can do. The stakeholders need to be available. The politicians, the businessmen, the captains of industries, the artists, you have to be available for these interviews so that we can have these narratives out there on big corporate organizations or big media like the Beeps.
Is it normal, and I'm making an assumption here, is it normal that British media will have a British perspective on world issues, and should that be something that we accept? For example, this morning I was actually on a post by Sky Sports, and I actually left a comment that upset me so much. I also shared it on my Facebook, and the football legend, Manchester United legend Teddy Sheringham was making comments on Marcus Rashford. And he was saying that he actually hopes that Marcus Rashford does not sign for Barcelona. That they don't, because I think everyone can see that Marcus Rashford, the United striker, is a black boy, has the capacity. But then for some reason, obviously we know Manchester United has gone through a rough patch, the club. So there is a possibility that a club can see the potential in Marcus, a bigger club like Barcelona, and say, you know what? We're going to take the risk because we don't know if the way he was playing was due to the fact the club was undergoing so much, I want to say, instability, or because Marcus was not really a good enough player. So out of a hope to cut his wings, he goes on Sky Sports and says, I hope Barcelona don't sign him, which I just thought was like really, really biased and just
Who said that?
Teddy Sheringham.
He's not a journalist, Teddy Sheringham.
But for Sky to facilitate that feels a little bit intentional, you know.
To be honest, I wouldn't say so. Speaking as somebody who is in that situation on a daily, sometimes these things are not designed that way. I promise you, hand on heart, and I have nothing to, protect anyone from.
Right.
But fair is fair. I'll give you an example. Even the stories that come out of our medium is determined by who shows up at work. If I call in sick today and somebody else comes in to replace my shift, that person comes in with his own mindset.
All right.
What's interesting to him, that's what he does. And I'll give you a classic example. Taylor Swift is a very successful recording artist, and her story has an economic angle.
Right.
But again, she's beloved. There's a lot of interest in her.
Right.
So when we are making our program, we're targeting US audience. Right? So editorially, Taylor Swift is important right now. So she's just released an album or whatever, is doing the rounds. There's a lot of money coming in. So it's already a business story. An opportunity to play some music. We're targeting US audience and some of the UK, audience that's going to tune into a business program. It's a business radio show. So who tunes into a business radio show? Are you seeing the dynamics?
Right.
Now, I've come to work. I'm not a fan of Taylor Swift. I listen to R&B and Afro beats.
Right.
So the day that I'm at work where I'm the senior, where I get to make all the decisions, I'm not having Taylor Swift on my program per se.
Right.
Just what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking, well, that could be Burner Boy, innit? Just what I'm trying. So Just as an example,
No, yeah, yeah.
unless, and of course, there's always somebody senior who might then say, no, but then this Taylor Swift story is in Reuters,
Right,
is in Wall Street Journal, and
right,
is in Financial Times. It's a big story. Let's use it. And then, but you can see people's individuality determines what comes out. There's no structural agenda per se. It's just people. I think the challenge we have is there's not enough of us in
right.
there in senior role. So if somebody like yourself, who's British and black and passionate and sensitive, was sat there when that statement was made, you have a lot of power to be like, that's out of order. So when we replay this, we cut off the Sheringham comment. Thank you. That's coming from a place of power. I've done that many times. I've done that many times in my time at the BBC. Easy. I'll give you an example. There was a story about Nigeria's current president not attending university, faking his certificate. That's news. Whether you don't like Africa or you love Africa, that's news.
Right.
That's news. We really need to. Africa's largest economy has a president who fraud a certificate. That's news.
Right.
That's news. You might be unbiased or biased all you want. That's news. So as a result of that, it's doing the rounds. So there's some investigation by our department, and the outcome was like he actually went to university and actually had a certificate that it wasn't forged. I thought, oh, that's interesting. So of course, there isn't much interest within the team. But I'm from Nigeria.
Right.
And I'm in charge. So it made the bulletin.
Right.
If I wasn't there, that story is not going anywhere near the bulletin. So you can see people's interest within limits, obviously.
Yes.
But the bottom line is, it was in the bulletins. It was, we have something where all our stories come. Then you pick. So you already made it to the shopping list.
Yes.
It then becomes a case of which one are you feeling, and it varies day by day. Sometimes you get it right, sometimes you don't. But you have that right as a journalist in whatever capacity you are on that day, whether you're the senior or there's somebody ahead of you. We have this conversation back and forth where we argue as to what we're going to, we're not going to run this. We already ran this yesterday. Why are we running this today? I think this one is the stronger story. No, I disagree. I think Elon Musk is the story. No, I think it's Trump. We do this all the time. So, whereas somebody has the last word. So on a day like this, I was like, I fancy a bit of Nigeria in my bulletin today, actually. And I made that call. And that's the only thing that we need to do. There needs to be more of us. And here you are. You're already taking your step. Where you have your podcast, where you control the narrative that comes out of that microphone. Wow. And everything that comes out of this page. That's your call. As against sitting back and not doing anything. When I chose to make a Reke movie, after years of complaining of if they're gonna do a DME story, they should at least hire RMD. Why bring Forest Whitaker to do a DME? All that stuff. When I made my film, I made sure I hired the people that I wanted to hire and told it how I want to tell it. And I think that's what we need to do.
Wow. So then you kind of answered the question in the sense where it's like, okay, it is normal to get, global news, and we can expect it being told through a British lens. And sometimes you may feel on the receiving end that leans towards how they would view it, which is, I guess, can be a little bit lenient.
Let me quickly come in. And that's not to exonerate anyone. Because at the end of the day, you also need to be culturally sensitive.
Right.
But I think once that mic is switched on and those cameras are in front of you, the tendency to just keep waffling is high. And when you haven't got the training, I don't know what sort of education Teddy Sheringham has either. I think there's a tendency to just, they do tend to put their feet in it.
Right. I totally get what you mean, and that's the thing about it. I always said, I feel in general, I think some guy said this before, it's like, we have the difference between how Jack Grealish, who's another British player, who was bought at a high price, and plays for Manchester City, how he was a massive letdown for his club, and how there's been images of him stumbling out of clubs at night. And not that I have anything against him personally, but then, you know, that's news that everyone finds not so interesting. They may report it, but there seems to be a unison in, oh, John, funny old Jack again, just being Jack. Boys will be boys. And then there's something about Rash when he stumbles out, or he not even stumbling out of a bar.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
when he's seen going to a boxing match.
They go here.
Right. Where it's like, here goes Rashford again, you know, and there seems to be this tone that across the board. So we can't necessarily blame them for not writing about their darling Jack, how we want them to write about, you know, how they write about Rashford. And we have to kind of expect that. And we kind of have to then, I guess this is where Pan-Africanism takes, you know, a huge role in each of our lives, because once we take Pan-Africanism seriously as individuals, like yourself, we take them into our success in these roles.
Everywhere we go, we take it with us.
Yeah.
We will take it with us. And the guys on the receiving end, they need to do their bit as well. Because if PAL TV reaches out to Rash's handlers, would they honor this opportunity to come down and sit next to Rash? Would they give you that audience? So if you're not willing to do your bit, you live with whatever you face.
That's one of my favorite things ever. Ever.
Before you blame people, you need to look inwards. Have you done enough?
I love that so much. You know why? Because it touches on a topic of like how when you get called for the Grammys or the Oscars, sometimes when we know some places are biased, when we get called from, it's something that we come up suit and tie. But when you're getting called for that black media company that's trying to come up off the ground, it's like, I don't know.
The first time you messaged me, of course I Googled, I saw who you are, and was ready to go. I actually even had a haircut because I wanted to look decent. Right? And even after waiting and we couldn't do it, you know, when you sent that email, even before you sent it, I was ready to come back.
Wow.
Yeah, because I don't know where this is going.
Wow.
So before I talk, I have to take the steps first. So Pan-Africanism, PAL TV is too small for me. So what the hell? So what are we talking about here then? We're wasting everyone's time. So that's it. We need to do enough. When we do enough, because I don't play victim. I utterly hate it. I don't do victims. I don't. I feel like if you do what you need to do, and that's why I was saying shout out to the BBC. I have no problem working for that organization. Everything I want, I get within the rules and regulation. I feel like it's fair. So everything I want to do, I do.
I hope you're watching that one at home, guys. That one was a big one. I know that we place value upon other things that are shiny and Western, and it's like when ourselves, it's just one of the, you know, and that, oh my God, I think that goes from Black beauty to Western beauty, everything, straight hair, kinky hair, you know, and when I'm not talking about the mixed kinky hair, I'm talking about the king where it's hard to get a comb through it.
You know the good news? We're almost there. We got people like you coming who are conscious and sensitive and proactive. Well, we're not far from it, I promise you. And even from in our faith, back in Africa, they're asking the pastors. They're calling them out. They're challenging them.
Yeah.
They're challenging them like, you need to stop with this stuff you're talking about. You need to stop. So when God spoke this to you on the January the 1st, he didn't tell you COVID was coming. Don't come here with that. People are asking questions now. So we are getting close because it's an entire process. It's not just cultural, the religion as well. It's crucial. So that's where the self-loathing starts to change, when we stop hating each other and in our entirety, from the beauty to the food, to the culture, but also to our spirituality. They have light to us. when they demonize our spiritual tradition, when they call it devil worshiping and all of that. It was deliberate. Remember when Rishi Sunak became prime minister? He had all these idols in front of number 10.
Really?
He did. He had them displayed and had candle lit on them because that's his religion. That's his religion. You're not going to call it devil worshiping. No one's going to allow you to do that because they've not allowed Britain to demonize their religion, even though they were enslaved just like we did. We were. They took education, they took everything, but they did not jettison their religion or their spirituality. Hinduism, you're not about to demonize Hinduism like you demonize voodoo. So, again, another conversation on that one.
But look, even as a Christian, I've said this in the last few episodes and we've spoken about it. I think what we're looking at today in Christianity has been a commercialized version of Christianity.
Of course, that's
I honestly don't think, like, obviously we know that there was the oldest Bible is found in Ethiopia. I honestly have been, as a Christian, stripping back this westernized and commercialized version of Christianity. This will open a can of worms, but that's why I don't disagree with you when you say, you know, I think there is a Christianity. This may sound strange. There is a Christianity that is African spirituality. Does that make sense? There is a way.
I know what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying?
I understand what you're
Until
saying.
we then made it this, you know, evangelical, Western.
And then it lost its way a bit. Yeah.
It lost its way.
Yeah.
I think there's a way, and I have actually been trying to get back to, you know, the black Jesus. Let me put it that way. Yeshua, the Jewish man, the real David, King David.
That's a new show. That's another show.
That's another show, isn't it? So
yes.
That's why I never disagree with you. And I'm glad I got to clarify that, because I know a lot of Christians would be like, "Hey, you're a Christian, you disagree with that?" Yeah, because I actually think that what we're looking at now, the one that believes, sorry, I'm on our show. I'm not on the BBC. The one that believes that Israel is there is the original Jews. I think the Israelites were African people, but then
we're not gonna talk about.
We don't have to go there.
What's happening there? Yeah. Because we have to be respectful. Because emotions are charged right now.
Definitely.
And then if we're not paying too much attention and we start commenting, we're going to cross some line that we had no intention to cross.
Definitely.
And then, you can get into a spot of bother.
Definitely. And that's why I said, I'm not going to bring you into that, because I understand that that's not, that's not a place that you want to go. But that's just so you know, in regards to, like, your conscience is clear in regards to me of, like,
well, 1000%, yeah. And even there's no fear here. No one's afraid of anything here. Okay. It's just a situation of because it's so sensitive.
Yeah,
it's a line mine, because you don't know when you're gonna make some comment.
Yeah,
that make you look like who you're not.
Yeah.
And that's one of the tricky. And so for me, as this is where being professional comes in. You've learned one or two things. And then you have natural stops that pause you just before you make a Teddy Sheringham type comment. It stops you and it reminds you, like, yeah, you stick to the basics. And at this point, this is a landmine. Let's stay on our island, and then we can keep it going.
Now, can I tell you something, sir? It's so funny you just said this, because I was actually thinking this today, this morning, right? The old Harrison would have completely and utterly disagreed with you in my heart so much and said, "Oh, he's this and he's that," in my heart. And I was only this morning thinking about my journey into Pan-Africanism and how I used to take to Facebook and leave radical statuses. When I first began awakening, it was 2020. And I would just say, like, down to, like, I want to say the pettiest details about what we suffer in regards to racism, everything. And I had a status for everything. And now, like you said, I've evolved to this place where, am I watered down? No, I'm not watered down.
No.
But I preserve my words for something that is for proper execution, if that makes sense.
That's it. Execution. Fix it.
Fixing. Yes, that's true. Yes, that statement is true. But how effective is that statement? So it causes kerfuffle and causes noise.
Is that why we're here?
It's not why we're here.
Is that why we're here? Kerfuffle. and chaos and say, yeah, we upset everyone. Yeah, and we got ourselves upset as well, really.
Yeah.
And then get
So
cancelled. Now that you're cancelled, how are you going to make any impact?
exactly. And it's not about being afraid of being cancelled, which I would have thought, oh, that person didn't say this, he's compromised, or that person didn't say that, he's come. No, but this is when I learned, and actually I thought this in my mind, I'm so happy it came to my mind, I'm going to say now, I believe the Holy Spirit brought it to me, which is, this is when you then create your agenda based off a strategic agenda.
Yes.
And I feel like I've learned how to design my agenda. And I aligned with PAL, which is because PAL was Pan-African Lifestyle, where we have an agenda. So I went from making, I don't want to call it mindless comments, because every phase was so important of me coming to my awakening. Like you said, the moment you walked into that, the slave museum, and that thing really grabbed you and captured you.
Me, yeah.
And it's important when we have these moments that capture us and grab us, and we go through those emotional reactions, and then you learn to say, okay, I learned over time that this news doesn't move people. This realization doesn't move people, which is sad, which you'd like it to. So how can we move people? And you come up with a strategic agenda.
Yes. We can have emotions or solution. Yeah, we can have both. So I go for solution, because things are happening out there that we're not happy about. So we know this. And talking about them is also good. It's part of it, because that's where it starts. Let's get the conversation going. We can't criticize. We can't call people out and say this isn't right. But then we take decisive actions. We align ourselves in a position of opportunity. We let creative processes guide us through what we're trying to do. I think for you, the question should be, what are you trying to do? Where's your space in all of this struggle? I think you've possibly identified the fact that you're opinionated, you're passionate, and you have things you want to say. So having a microphone in front of you is already one way to get this. Then the next thing is you put your research in, thorough research, such that when you speak, some level of authority goes along with that. It's not coming from just emotion. It's coming from some thought thinking. And then even the guests you bring onto the show, where, the interaction is useful to somebody. So whether it charges us, where we have a renewed vigor of what we need to do, or it inspires us to say, I need to have a go. Because even this, I'm trying to do a podcast myself. I'm trying to have my podcast at some point. Nice. So this has reminded me, like, I really need to take step forward and start to take this seriously. So I feel like that's what we need to be doing. Let some action, there should be a call to action behind everything that we do. A call to action.
And you've just given me advice in that moment, and I'll ask you, what other advice do you have for young storytellers that are trying to amplify their voices, like on the global stage?
Less vibe. More. Let's do a bit of more serious content. There's too much vibes. The vibes are good. Jollof fries, Afrobeats, fashion show, all of that. It's all great, but we need to have serious conversations too.
Yeah,
we really need that, because we don't want to be a group of people who just love to laugh
and dance.
We need to do a bit more than that. So for young people, don't come and join a podcast catalog that's already had girls talking about relationships. And what's your take on 50-50? Shout out to the ladies doing all those as well, because they're all doing a great job. But we all can't do those kind of podcasts where we're talking about 50-50. Or Nigerian men are handsome and Gambian men are, it's great. But when you're trying, as a young person watching this podcast, watching this interview, when you're ready to go into that podcast world, which you should do, please do something different.
Yeah.
You know, and if you're a guy, you're coming in, find the gap. You know, don't come in because we already have podcasts where boys sit together and have the best of times and talk about relationship, growing up, and it's amazing to watch. As you're coming in, don't come and do another one of that. And if you want to, you can. It's okay. But for me, my advice, can we find the gaps that we can plug? Look at this issue you raised about Rashford. They are not the only one with a monopoly of bad mouth. So let a group of us who are sport lovers, let's sit down and batter their own folks too. When they play nonsense, let's call them out. Let's not say, oh, good old lad, being laddie. No. Let's wipe the floor with them as well. And then when it's time to talk about Rashford and our boys, we're kind. Simple.
I was going to ask you the question of a Pan-African lifestyle. You know, how important is it to live a Pan-African lifestyle, and what does that mean to you? And I think you just said it there, because it's like the problem is that we don't have a Pan-Africanist youth who are living a Pan-African lifestyle, if that makes sense. We have a youth who are indoctrinated and regurgitating self-hate, regurgitating, you know, like, I like these shows. Like, look, we got shows like Pop the Balloon. I don't know if you've heard of that show. It's basically this dating show. But the problem with it is that
Paul, I've seen videos.
Pop the Balloon, right? But now it's become this thing where it's like black people just throw darts at each other. You know, black men and women are just throwing darts at each other. And I'm kind of like, where I like to see black people mating and black love and promoting that, it's then become what we always do, which is this place where we just throw, you know, darts at each other.
So again, nobody has a monopoly. So we even this statement you just made now, right, is profound. And I feel like we can have a show where this is what it's all about, where we're policing content and we're talking about it. You know, because when you go out there, there's so much to watch. And if there's anything that we're watching that's not right, we need to start also putting because again, it's the algorithm, isn't it? They're all digital footprints. So if there's a lot of that, it's coming to your feed. But if there's bits and pieces like this as well, that's interesting, that's fun, that's creative, that's powerful, we put that out there as well. And we kind of dilute it, so to speak. I think at the end of the day, it's all about how badly do we want this. The changes that we're trying to accomplish, how badly do we want it? How can we align with like-minded people to make sure that we're making the effort? I realize that the film industry is very big, which is Nollywood. And I just thought I'm going to start there, get some notoriety, because there's only so much you can do. So I thought, well, within the film industry, I can make the kind of films that I want to make. It can get me into places that I need to get to. I mean, look at someone like Tyler Perry, you know, using that platform, which he built by himself.
Yeah.
To whatever message he wants to put out there, he puts it out there. Whether you like his content or not, it's a different conversation. But look at that approach. I feel like that's what I'm trying to achieve in my space, where I become a filmmaker and I make these kind of films. I raise these issues, and it leads to this kind of conversation where we have a podcast, where we have this conversation, where we have a radio program, where we do the kind of things we want our people to hear with their headphones on, going to work, the kind of podcasts we want people to listen to, the topics we want to talk about. When you talk about Pan-Africanism, some of my best moments is when I went to Uganda. Yes, I was making a documentary about fake pastors. And, you know, Uganda had like a moment where evangelism just really went big, and Ugandans are very, very Christian. So in the midst of all of that, there's some fake pastors, you know, and I went there. But just the views, the scenery, meeting the locals, people were very kind, very subtle, You know, me being a Nigerian, we're like loud and out
Right,
there,
yeah, definitely different. Yeah,
you
definitely,
know, but these
definitely.
people were so mellow, so kind and gentle. And they were big, big men, 6'5" giants, but very
Gentle.
level-headed, very calm. It was really exciting to meet people who look like they can ruin you with their bare hands. And then they're very gentle and soft-spoken and non-confrontational. I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing. You know? So I've traveled across the continent and that's made me super Pan-African as well.
Right.
When I heard the news that Kenya has dropped visa restriction, it brought joy to my heart because
Nice.
we need to be traveling to each other's countries
Yeah, yeah,
and eating each other's food and not letting people divide and conquer us, where
yeah.
we unite. So now it gets to a situation where we have to then start making Pan-African stories, where we link countries together and make stories that we can show in Nairobi and show in Lagos and show in London. So these are my vision. That's where I'm going.
Is this then your definition of the African dream?
I need to think about that. Let me think about what I think African dream should be. Free movement within the continent, wealth in terms of just being able to wake up and go to Namibia and be in the desert and have just take it all in and stay there for as long as you want to stay there. And when it's time to go back home, or go meet family in Nairobi, to Lagos, to the Gambia, you know, to Addis Ababa, where we make movies, we make music, we do fashion shows, right? We do businesses together. I think for me that would be the African dream, where there's no restrictions. We're not calling each other out. We're not beefing. You know, this Ghana Nigeria beef and this Ghana Kenya beef. You know, Ghana South Africa beef. This xenophobia.
Africa, Jamaica,
Jamaica, Nigeria,
Black Americans, African on the
Nigerians.
continent,
Yeah,
Nigerians.
the first time I heard that there was some problem between African Americans and Nigerians, I was almost upset. Like, you have a problem with us?
Yeah.
All we wanted to do was be like you.
Yeah.
I remember New Edition.
Yeah.
Because these people will be my age bracket. Bobby Brown will be a few years older than me and all of that. All we wanted to do was be like them. We wanted to be them. I'm thinking, you can't hate on us. We want to be like you. You inspired us. I told you about Michael Jordan affecting my physiognomy now. My hair don't grow now because I've been cutting it off because of Michael Jordan. You can't hate on Nigerians if you're an African American. We see ourselves in you. You should see yourselves in us.
Yeah.
So there's no room for these fights and this beef. So that would be the African dream, where there's so much unity and we can just saunter into each other's space and respect it. Because that's another news entirely now. There's a lot of people feeling disrespected when other people come into their country and they accuse us of ruining it for them.
Yeah.
And not respecting the local, etc. So there's a lot of work that we need to do. Again, I just say you start here.
Yeah.
Once we do what we need to do, the rest is not too difficult.
Sir, help me get the name again. Gbolahan? Gbolahan?
Yes, that's it. You got it.
I'm trying my best.
Where are you from?
I need to take a trip to Nigeria.
Where are you from?
Well, I'm Zimbabwean Congolese.
Oh, nice. That's an interesting combination.
It is an interesting mix.
Zimbabweans and Nigerians are very similar.
Really?
Yeah, we're very similar. I'll tell you the similarities.
Go.
Zimbabweans are some of the most educated Africans on the continent.
Yes. Yeah.
So, shout out to Robert Mugabe.
Yes.
You know, say what you may, but that legacy.
I'm a Robert Mugabe fan. I know a lot of people are going to hate me for that.
Yeah, he has his own problems, but shout out to him. That legacy of education. I've never met a Zimbabwean person that is not incredibly switched on.
Yeah.
unarticulate. So yeah, and Niger people, there's a bit of that in us, but also that fire to get things done. So they are not necessarily calm; they are go-getters.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
So I feel like we have that in common. So maybe that's why Niger, yeah, I don't know. So Nigerians and Zimbabweans were quite close. Now I went to Kinshasa. It felt like mini Lagos.
Definitely.
DR Congo is also a bit like Niger. Like,
Definitely.
you get there, you can smell the money.
Yeah.
In the midst of the chaos,
Yeah.
you can opportunity, it reeks in the air.
Yeah.
That's the vibe I got. When I got there, there was so much chaos. There was so many people. Everything was just like, pow. I'm thinking, where's the roads, man? Where's the roads? But in the next couple of hours, when I started to settle in, except for the fact that the French was the problem, I really couldn't hear much because I don't speak French. Right. But you knew that this is a land of opportunity.
Yeah.
That was the vibe I got from DR Congo.
Yeah.
I get that vibe. Like, this is a place I could live in because I feel like opportunities all over the place. And this is how you know. So maybe outside looks a bit not so nice. As soon as you walk into the hotel, this could as well be New York.
Yeah.
Like, this is absolutely beautiful. So you can see that there's wealth in this country, but you just wish that, things would be slightly more organized. Again, case in point, Nigeria. So I see similarities between Nigeria and Congo and Zimbabwe. So there's a lot that we have in common than we have apart.
I'm hoping we learn that sense of, like I said, strength from the Nigerians. I think Nigerians are people who cannot be bullied. That's one thing I'll let you know. I think we adopted that in Zimbabwe because obviously our oppressor lived with us there and tamed us quite a lot, whereas your oppressor didn't live with you in Nigeria, so you're not as tamed. If a Nigerian is in a tamed state, it's because he has an agenda that he wants to get.
You hit the nail spot on.
So
you see a Nigerian man calm.
Yeah, like this. Don't be too confident.
don't get he's waiting for his moment.
He's waiting for his moment, and he'll devour. Whereas with us, there's that sense of we really like you said, just maybe a little bit more of a colonized mindset. But we'll get through it. Sir, I just want to say thank you so much on behalf of the pals, on behalf of Pan-African Lifestyle, the show, and even the viewers, for giving such an informative and inspiring conversation. Also, thank you for what you're doing on the ground for changing and shifting the narrative. We need it. As a young man today, I've learned something massively that I'm taking with me, that I'm going to apply, that I'll sit up tonight thinking and connecting it to moments where I can do it in my life and whatnot. And it's just been a very, very informative phone call, or should I say interview. It felt like a phone call. It felt like a very, very personal phone call. So honestly, thank you so much for giving us your time. Pardon?
I said like an uncle moment.
An uncle. I love these uncle moments. That's what I love. I love to sit and there was a saying about. I was just speaking to a Nigerian lady who's doing a garment for me. Actually, that's going to be the main uniform I'm going to start wearing for the show. But she said I don't know if it's in Yoruba or Igbo, but there's a saying about for someone who likes to sit by elders, and he sits at the floor at the feet of an elder, and they call him something. And she said that about me because she was giving me a long speech. She goes, my country, we call you this. I forget the term it was, but basically
it's probably Igbo.
It's probably Igbo.
It's probably Igbo. It sounds like an Igbo cultural moment.
Yeah, definitely. But I thank you so much, and continue to do the work that you are doing. And hopefully, one day I get to show up as an actor in one of your movies. That would be a huge...
Just ask now, and it shall be yours.
I'm asking you right now. You got to come.
Consider it done. Ireke has a sequel. So it's on record now. You have an opportunity to audition for some of the good roles.
Wow, how exciting is that? I will audition. You know what? My mom always says you gotta do acting, but I've never really had an interest. The funny thing is, due to the fact that I know that you're gonna do something that is for the people, I'm like, that's where the heart for it is coming from. So I'm kind of like, let's go, let's do it, let me be a part of something that's historical. Like, so I will be auditioning. and I'll bring my best game. Thank you so much, sir. God bless you, honestly. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure. And I just want to say, keep doing what you're doing. It's a step in the right direction. We just need to start. We figure it out as we go along.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Please make sure you like, share, and subscribe to get more content like this.
Living a dream, living the African dream.